The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live in April. Guess who I've got here with me? I don't normally do it this way, but welcome to the fabulous Lisa Ackerman. You guys know her because you've seen her before on the show. She is the founder of TACA, which is the Autism Community in Action. I can't imagine doing an April without having you here, Lisa. You are an inspiration to me. And I can't think of another parent who has a bigger footprint in terms of making a difference in this community. So bless you, up, down, and sideways. I appreciate all the work that you do, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here with us.
Well, thank you. And my inspiration is Dr. Bernard Rimland. So paying it forward, just falling in his very large shoes.
Well, that's an amazing thing. And you're not the only person we hear that from. So I'll talk to you about something later. But in any case, thrilled that you're here. This is April. We're going to air this in April. I want to give the disclaimer to everybody. We are filming this right at the end of March before we closed up our studio. And it is possible that by the time this show airs that there will be new prevalence numbers that come out. And we usually go directly to you to talk about prevalence because you always have this, multi-view point look at the prevalence numbers, and you always post great salient things. So if the numbers have come out by the time this comes out, I want to make sure that we direct people to go directly to you to find out information about that. Where exactly would you want them to go?
It's just the TACA Now website, TACANOW.org. That will always, if there is a new prevalence, it will be on the front page of the website or about autism.
Okay. So definitely check that out. But you know what? You should be checking that out anyway, you guys, because it's going to give you a main line. I always say this to you. Nobody has a better website than you do. Nobody. Listen, we try to have a good website. Our website isn't as good as yours. And I gave up thinking that it ever could be. Like 3 days in, I was like, look, we're never going to catch them. There, you have brilliant people that you work with and
great team,
and which is a wonderful thing. But I always say you're leading it. So kudos to you. But it's a great website with more information that's critical to parents than anybody else. And in a way that you can consume it. Really, really great website. It makes sense. It's intuitive. Like I don't go on there and go, where would it be? Where would it be? Somebody sent me an email today asking me to come to a conference, and I scrolled, must have been 5 pages, still have no idea when it is. Is it in 2025? Is it in 2027? What month? I know where it is, Lisa. I know the address, have no idea what the dates are. I sometimes give up. You would never do that. In any case, thrilled that you're here. I have to say this show is premiering live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You guys can be writing in. Are there things on websites that make you crazy or in emails that make you crazy? Write in and tell us right now. We are interactive, even though this is pre-recorded. I'll be watching to see what you guys have to say, and I'll make sure that Lisa knows if she's not available then. So lots of different ways that you can be watching us live, but don't forget, we know that the lion's share of you will listen in podcast. Our podcast is available, and this podcast will be available later today on every platform that allows you to download a podcast for free. That's sort of our criteria. We love for you to get the information for free. Now, free means that you get some advertising with it, and I hope that you go woohoo when you see the advertising and say, oh, they're paying for me to get this for free. That's how I hope you look at it. If it's not, and some of you have said, I'm in the middle of my workout, I need the content, please don't put advertising in. For a very small monthly fee. For $5 a month, you get everything that we do ad-free. You just go to glow.fm/autism-live. All right. Now you are doing, you guys have been doing a blog forever, but you have your own podcast over at Taka. Tell them where to find your podcast.
Yeah, it's still at takanowblog.org. We're setting up on all the streaming services shortly, but you can listen to all the interviews and everything off the website, takanowblog.org.
And we're going to talk about one of the podcasts that you did with a pretty amazing expert in just a little while here. But before we get to that, I want to say, make sure that you guys are checking out our entire month here, because we have fabulous guests like Lisa telling us lots of stuff. Our whole drive here is to provide information and inspiration to that larger autism community that starts with individuals who are themselves on the spectrum. Whatever words they like to use, we like to ask each individual, what words are you using to describe yourselves, right? Because it's hard. Everybody has different words, and they feel very passionately about it, as they should, because those are the words they're using to describe themselves. So we start there, and then we include everyone who loves those individuals. And that's what our community is here. We want to provide you with information and inspiration. So that's what we're doing. But we also usually, before we bring a guest in, we give you guys the jargon of the day. Just some term that gets batted around that sometimes, you don't quite know what it is we're talking about. And we give you two different definitions. Way back when we started this, Lisa, a million years ago, when my hair was not this color, although that was a lie because it was out of a bottle then. But way back, Jem was little. We started the jargon of the day, and we would give an actual definition, and we would make fun of it because it would just be so bad as a definition. And then we would go to a working definition, which maybe we could get a hold of. Maybe we could get a hold of it. And now I have to say, all these years later, the definitions are better. We don't have as much to make fun of, but we still do a compare and contrast because we're used to it. So guess what our jargon term for today is, Miss Lisa, in honor of you being here? It is a biomedical intervention. So we're going to start with our first definition, and then we'll ask for your opinion, and then we'll go to the second definition. So biomedical intervention, and this comes to us from Autism Parenting Magazine. Biomedical treatment methods are used to reduce symptoms associated with psychological disorders by targeting specific physiological functions. For the treatment of autism-related symptoms, biomedical interventions target specific processes that impact a person's brain function and development. So there, what kind of verdict, what do you like, what don't you like out of that definition, Miss Lisa?
I like it all. And I think we've had this conversation before, biomedical, and I'm also a fan of functional medicine.
Yeah.
And the prevention and optimization of individual health.
Yeah.
So prevention of any conditions, treating of underlying conditions, and optimization of a person's overall health. So that's another way to look at it. Sometimes functional medicine is more accepted by mainstream. Sometimes it isn't. Really, I just want each person living with autism to receive adequate health care. And what's a really important thing is that the average kid with autism has 5 coexisting medical issues. And medical intervention is so important because often it's overlooked because of the diagnosis. And I don't want it to be overlooked. I want everybody to get the proper health care.
Yeah, it really was brought home to me when my son was in preschool. He was 4, and this virus went through the preschool just like wildfire. And him and his little buddy that was in his class, they both had the exact same symptoms. They were having the exact same temperature. And it was within a 24-hour period that they both went to the emergency room. And the other little boy got an IV. And they replaced fluids because he'd thrown up so much. And, he got sent home, and he was better 2 days later. We went I checked, we saw the exact same doctor, and he did not give Jem an IV, sent Jem home, and Jem was sick for like 2 weeks. Because we had to replace the fluids personally, and it was this whole thing. And I remembered For whatever reason, we were back in the ER and saw that doctor. And I said, can you tell me why? Why did you give the IV drip to one kid and not to the other? He said, oh, well, you disclosed to me that your son had autism. And kids with autism don't like IVs. So, and I was like, did you ask me? Did you even, he just decided not to treat my son because I disclosed his diagnosis. So that was the end of that, Lisa. We no longer disclose things in unless it was critical and important, because, this preconceived notion that he was not going to do well with the IV and that it was not worth the risk. Yeah, I learned a lot then. But anyway, I digress. We have a second definition to go to see if you like. Biomedical intervention, treating the underlying medical issues that may result in behaviors that block communication, socialization, and other important life skills. What are your thoughts on that one?
Love that. And I think if you have a doctor who's trained and also very much curious about individuals with autism, there's a lot of tests that you can do that are standard tests from Quest or LabCorp that are going to get you the answers you need to help treat underlying issues. And they're so common with our kids, so common. So it's so important to look. And you can improve everything, including the overall health and outcome of that individual.
And in fact, that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. I have before me a stack of papers because Lisa always, what's wonderful, there's so many wonderful things about you, but whenever you're going to talk about something or you do a blog about something, you always give links to studies. And when you said, I want to talk about this, you sent me a page of links, and I printed what Lisa sent me. It's just study and an amazing couple of interviews. So tell the folks at home what the overriding subject is that we're talking about.
We're talking about Leucovorin, and it's a common drug that's been repurposed and treating kids with autism. And I'm really excited that in February, there was a CBS Evening News story that's been seen now millions of times. And then subsequent articles with the New York Post and other locations that are picking up the story. And our support has just blown up on all of our channels, from our telephone, email, our Facebook Hope and Help group with over 25,000 members. It's a free support channel that we're just answering questions every day about Leucovorin. It's the new term, the new word for a lot of families.
And we should say, we would love to show the CBS interview, but we can't. So we want to encourage people to go. We'll put a link in the notes for this podcast that you can click on and go watch the CBS article. It's very lovely. They have a lovely little animation of how Leucovorin works. I appreciate that. I love the old Disney science videos where they do the little animation and they show you what it looks like. I appreciate that. And so it all kind of makes sense. And they also talk about it being off-label, because I didn't know what that term meant before. Tell the folks at home what off-label means.
Well, off-label means we're using it for a different purpose. Currently, Leucovorin is prescribed for a few things, to help navigate the cancer treatments for certain people with anemia, but also for something that's called for cerebral folate deficiency. And it's considered off-label because it's not been tested for autism. But yet, if you test positive through cerebral folate autoimmunity testing, whether it's a spinal tap or a frat blood test, and all those links are in the article that it will be shared, we can definitely see if your kid is a candidate for Leucovorin. And I always want to tell parents, it's not a drug like an SSRI or some other type of drug. It's basically high dose vitamins. So when you look at it, it's a vitamin B9 and at a high dose level. And if we were to buy it in a health food store, you would have to take somewhere between 20 to 65 pills a day. And what this prescription does is give you a high dose in one single pill that allows kids with autism to deal with cerebral folate autoimmunity.
And in the animation, one of the things that I didn't realize is that for some of our kids that are on the spectrum, they have something that blocks, they can take folate, but they have something that actually blocks it from being able to be of benefit to them.
And the benefit of this study is almost 70% of kids with autism improve dramatically with speech, cognition, and social skills, which are kind of the hallmark of what our kids are working with every day to catch up and to be part of our community. And for my son, Leucovorin was a game changer. And he was on a moderate dose of 5 milligrams from age 5 to age 11. And we updated it to, again, it's by age and weight, what kids take. So it was upgraded significantly, starting for 50 milligrams twice a day to 75 twice a day.
Okay.
And his speech and cognition and independent learning skills improved dramatically. And when I'm saying improved dramatically, it was night and day difference for him. Wow. And we're seeing that with over 60 to 70% of the kids through the recent studies, that by providing a high dose vitamin B9 available in the prescription Leucovorin, they're able to increase their speech, cognition, and social skills.
Now, I just want to be careful here because we mentioned that it's, it would be like the equivalent of, please don't go to the grocery store and get
do that.
The B9 and decide to give your child, an overdose of that. Please don't do that. This is something that comes through testing and then through a doctor, correct? That you get the prescription for this.
And I would never recommend anyone start any treatment or therapeutics without having a professional at least evaluate, test, and determine if your child needs it. That's really important to work with a quality doctor. If you go to the TACA Hope and Help group on Facebook, there's a list of great physicians that know how to test and treat for cerebral folate deficiency. And it's something that is straightforward to do. It's either a blood test or a spinal tap. A lot of people will do the blood test because it's easier and available. And there's often 2 treatments that families talk about all the time. One of them is Leucovorin, and one of them is 5-MeO-THF. One or the other is going to work for the kids. And generally speaking, as long as they go slow and they're being followed by a doctor, they can evaluate this treatment for their child.
Okay, let's back the bus up because we've talked a little bit about that. Back that bus up. Okay. Because there's a couple of things on your website that I think are really going to be beneficial as parents are like, wait, I need to know a little bit more about this. You've got a wonderful, wonderful article that I printed out about what is cerebral folate deficiency. So you guys can find out everything that you want to know. And she has wonderful graphics. I'm a visual kind of gal. Wonderful graphics that you can find that. We'll put that link in the description as well. But then you did a podcast with an amazing doctor, Dr. Richard Fry, who is part of the CBS piece that they did, who's been doing studies about this. And you guys can go and you can read the blog. You can watch the interview that you did with Richard Fry. But tell us a little bit about what that is. I want you to go watch it, but tell us a little bit about what you guys talked about.
Well, and we did what we call cerebral folate for beginners, and really to break it down and working with Dr. Richard Fry, who's wonderful in our community. He's published over 300 different studies on autism treatment and common issues. He's just a great resource and wealth of information. So if you think of the CBS news story was about 4 minutes long, the interview we did with Dr. Fry was 25 minutes long on all the questions that parents ask about Leucovorin. And I highly recommend it because it just really breaks it down. It's easy to metabolize. You don't have to be a scientist, and at least you can take the science and go work with your pediatrician or find a functional medicine doctor that's ready to help.
There you go. Now, one of the things that you list in the blog are a list of symptoms that could potentially signal cerebral folate deficiency, but you also note that you could have some of these, but not all of these, and these don't necessarily mean cerebral folate, but
Right.
I am a hypochondriac, so I read the list and I was like, I think this describes me. Listen, irritability and anxiety, ding. Poor sleep, ding, ding. Gross motor problems or problems with coordination. Oh, yes. Tics, I don't know. Seizures, no, thank you. I don't have those. But I want to say that we're really talking about our kiddos. I'm joking, but this is a serious subject. But seizures, but this includes absent seizures.
Correct.
Which I think happen more often than folks realize. And that if the child was untreated for cerebral folate, that we might see seizures start developing in puberty. What a scary little thought that is. Problems with vision. Again, we're back to me. Developmental delay and or slowing of typical development, which is a lot of our kids, right? Smaller head circumference, but certainly not always. Rett syndrome may be an indicator of cerebral folate deficiency and depression. But I love that you note not all of these symptoms are seen at the same time in kids with cerebral folate. So you might have some, but not all. So just an idea of some of the things that might trigger you to say, this is something we probably should look into. And again, you're seeing a lot of kiddos used to be that when we would come to the TACA conference and there would be statistics about what did parents say they got the biggest bang for their kids making a jump in what they were able to do. And I remember that it used to be the methyl B12 shots, but I hear more people talking about this now because
it could be a combination of methyl B12 and B9, but also what's common, and Dr. Fry cites this in the interview, is kids with mitochondrial dysfunction. By pairing treatments based on your kid's unique issues. What Dr. Fry talks about all the time, pairing leucovorin with another treatment often makes it more effective and accelerates improvements for the kids.
I have to say that when we were doing the methyl B12 shots, which I would never have done if you had not walked me through that, I have to say thank you for that. But when we were doing the methyl B12 shots, it also had folate in it. So was that this? Or something.
Well, again, if those were from a long time ago. Yes. I mean, Jem and Jeff are, Jeff's at 27.
Jem's 21.
Jem's 22 right now, 21.
About to be 22, yeah.
So those are different formulations and variations. And some methyl B12 shots do contain, but maybe not the therapeutic dose.
Got it.
So a little bit is helpful, but the right dose based on the labs is a lot more helpful.
And as we're talking about folate, this is so still confusing to me. I have to have a cheat sheet with me because people think it's all the same and it's not. So there's folic acid, there's folate, there's folinic acid, and is it 5-MTHF?
5-MTH, which is methylfolate. So it turns out folate was added into a lot of the bread products in the 90s, bread, cereals for spinal bifida. And if you have cerebral folate deficiency or autoimmunity, you're not able to process the folate in the brain. So all you're doing in this B9 leucovorin or in the methylfolate, you are giving something that can be absorbed into the brain and actually help improve function.
Well, not only that, I mean, help me if I'm wrong here, but I know we always said what the MTHF are. That was always our thing here. We want buttons. What the MTHF are. Because there's two different kinds of MTHFR, and it's possible that if you have one or both of them, that you not only can't process and get the benefits from the folate that is in the cereal, but it could actually be creating more problems.
Yeah, and that's what the science was showing with Dr. Fry and Dr. Dan Rosignol is the kids that have the MTHFR mutation especially need to be evaluated for this. So, for example, both my husband and I have the MTHFR mutations, which doubled up on my son. So by testing for cerebral folate autoimmunity and or deficiency, we were able to see that he would greatly benefit from this treatment. And proof was in the pudding. Within a few weeks of starting the dose, I mean, I think Jeff was age 11 when we went to the therapeutic dose. And he'd been taking supplements and treatments since he was 4. Mm-hmm. And at age 11, he came to me and said, Mom, you added these 2 new pills. What are they? And I said, well, that's leucovorin and luteocarnitine based on your labs. Mm-hmm. And he looked at me and he goes, my brain is better on these. Mm. And I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
He commented on his protocol that was unique to his needs. And I think I called his doctor crying, going, what dose can I give? This. Okay. And he improved from 90% assistance in school to being 10% assisted at school within 6 months.
Wow.
Of starting the treatment, and homework and speech and communication and abstract thoughts and cognition. It really made a big difference. And it can be started at any age. It doesn't need to start at age 4. It can start at age 11 when we really went to the right therapeutic dose.
And is it also for adults that are on the spectrum? It's not too late?
It's never too late to feel good. And if you have a lab that demonstrates that you need assistance, it doesn't matter if you're 62 or if you're 2. It's something that I think at some point in time, leucovorin and the testing, the FRAT testing, for this deficiency, if we could catch this at 6 months or 9 months, could we just improve the overall health of that individual and just have a skyrocketing benefit to that individual would be a great hypothesis for healthy babies.
Okay, so you mentioned that there's 2 different ways to test for it. One is to have the spinal.
Spinal tap, which I know not a lot of people do, but they have so many skilled people that do spinal taps, and it can also give you different other indicators that may be helpful for the individual.
So very beneficial.
But there's also,
very beneficial then to do the spinal thing. But I heard every parent go, I don't want it, right? But then you keep referring to something called the FRAT, and of course
the FRAT test,
and I immediately think frat boys on a college campus. What? I don't think that has
it's basically ordered by your doctor. No frat boys are involved.
Frat boys.
It's basically one single tube of blood, just like you would do a Quester LabCorp, but it's a specialty lab that can tell you if you have the binding or blocking issues that are common in cerebral folate deficiency.
Okay. Now, in all this paperwork that you gave me, there's something that jumped off the page and screamed at me and went, ah! That it says here, people diagnosed with PANS or PANDAS have the folate receptor antibodies. Like that's just
almost always. And that is, it's found an alarming rate of over 70% of kids with autism, but PANDAS and PANS, they say that that's over 64% or close to 64% of kids. So you have clues and markers based on working with a quality functional medicine doctor that understands autism. They can run these labs and help you craft a treatment path that will help your child.
So can I just go to my run-of-the-mill pediatrician and say, I would like for you to do either a spinal tap to look for this, or I would like for you to do the FRAT test?
I highly doubt any pediatrician knows how to do a spinal tap. They would have to send that out.
Right, and but I could ask them for it, right?
But yeah, you could.
But I don't think we're going to be successful is what my fear is.
The challenge that we have, again, is autism has become so specialized. There's over 40,000 studies in coexisting issues, and about 500 new studies are coming out every week. So if your pediatrician is not looking at all of these different things that are happening in the community, they may be reticent not only to order the lab, but then if they got the lab back, they may not know what to do.
Right.
So if you have a pediatrician that's very forward thinking and helping with treatment, God bless, ask them.
Sure.
If they are not able to do that, on the Talk of Hope and Help Facebook group, there is a list of doctors across the United States that can order these labs, and not only order them when they come back, they know by reading the lab what to do.
Okay. And it's possible that even if I don't know if I'm going the right way, but even if the doctor isn't in your network, it's possible that they could help you to get the tests ordered in your network, maybe?
Yeah. And so some pediatricians are really helpful where they'll order their labs, and then maybe you can do a consult with the doctor. A pediatric neurologist would know, if you get a referral for a pediatric neurologist, many will know that this is an issue and that they can also help in reading and determining the labs. But not everyone has a good pediatric neurologist. So I would go to the Talk of Hope and Help Facebook group, join. You have to answer 3 questions to get in. We verify it's all parent and caretakers the best we can. And then that list is there and available. Some of those doctors take insurance, some don't. So you'll have to check and call our offices.
And my experience of it was my doctor said, here are the tests I need you to go to your pediatrician and ask for these so you don't end up paying a fortune for these. That was my experience of it. These are the run-of-the-mill things that you're going to be able to push in your insurance. Go ask your pediatrician for it. But then there were things that we had to pay for separately. But when I walk in the door or on the phone or on Zoom, wherever it is nowadays, I'm asking for one thing or 2 things. I'm asking for a cerebral folate deficiency test, asking for the FRAT or the spinal thing, or am I also asking for mitochondrial dysfunction test as well, or it covers both of them?
The FRAT test is really only for cerebral folate deficiency. There are other standard labs that can be done to show if you have mitochondrial dysfunction or deficiency. I can speak today, maybe a little more puppy, and or other common issues. In fact, also on the TACA website, there's a list of the common labs that are often done in your first few appointments with your functional medicine doctor.
Okay. Whew. But it's powerful stuff because, parents ask us, what am I missing? What do I need to do? What should I check? So potentially you'd be checking both of those things for cerebral folate deficiency and for mitochondrial dysfunction. And depending on what it comes back, you're going to treat these in different ways.
Correct. And based on age and weight, they're going to design the perfect protocol for your individual, because there's not one path of treatment that will work with every child with autism. That's why you need a doctor.
Okay. And the studies are showing overwhelmingly that kids are having a benefit from it. Are there any potential side effects that we should know about or talk about?
Well, when you look at it, B vitamins can be very activating. Like I take my Bs during the day. I don't take them right before I go to sleep. It can keep me up.
Yeah.
So I take my B vitamins around lunchtime, and they can be very activating. So some people will start off low with the dosing and slowly titrate up with the doctor's support. And they also may introduce calming supplements first, like fish oil, L-theanine, GABA. Those are calming supplements that can help deal with a kid that is maybe being activated by the B vitamins.
Yeah. But the speech piece, I don't think that we can overstate how critical that is to so many parents. I mean, even this morning, Lisa, there was a parent who was texting me saying, I feel like my 5-year-old is right on the cusp of language. Who can help me? Who can help me? Right. And it's such a multi-pronged thing. I mean, I know that she was looking for, a magic therapist and it might be that it's a magic therapist and Leucovorin.
Correct. And there's so many parents that I've talked to that have embarked since this February story came out on CBS News. Mm-hmm. They're already seeing the benefits in their child. Some take a little longer. Some are shorter in their turnaround, and some may need methylfolate, the 5-HMTF supplement versus leucovorin. But a doctor will help you decide and define that right path based on the labs.
And where do you get these from? Is it a prescription? Do you get it from a compounding lab? Where does it come from?
Some people do the leucovorin straight from their local CVS or Rite Aid, and some have to get it compounded based on the unique needs of the individual. So it just depends on if your kid has some allergies. Like my child was really had a trouble with any lactose additive, and some lactoses are so small and in a different form, it doesn't operate the same as drinking a glass of cow's milk. But my son was highly sensitive, so we had to go and get it compounded, which was covered by insurance based on his labs. And we were able to get that. And now that he's older, he still takes a small dose of leucovorin every day. And it is the lactose containing version when he's no longer sensitive.
Wow, that's amazing. And what about the 5-MTHF? Where does that come from?
Well, and again, that methylfolate can be prescribed. Again, it's a higher dose. And so that's why it's coming on a prescription pad, unlike other, drugs that are common from Rite Aid or CVS. And it's just a higher dose that allows the kids to benefit from the therapeutic.
But I also want to say, because I know I don't know if it still is a big deal, but the methyl is different than just because I remember when my son was getting the methyl B12 shots, and my doctor said to me, "Oh, you're low in B12, so I'm going to prescribe shots." And I said, "Are you going to do the methyl ones?" And she was like, "What?" My doctor, she was like, "What? No, we're just doing the regular with the cobalamin ones." Mm-hmm. She was like, "No, there's no difference. You don't need we don't have the methyl. We're not doing that, right?" But I remember when I went back and talked to our doctor, they were like, "There's a huge difference." "What do you mean your doctor said there's no difference?" "There's a huge difference." And no, I wouldn't suggest that you do the cobalamin ones, that it was so
again, that's the difference in working with someone who's working with autism day in and day out.
Yeah.
I could continue to work with my pediatrician, but sometimes I know more than the pediatrician on the latest research. So I want a doctor that is keeping up on the technology, can look at the studies, and also guide me based on my kids' labs. Yeah. That may take a shorter period of time, and I may spend 2 hours a year with that functional medicine doctor versus multiple repeated appointments with my pediatrician. Again, it's no stab against a pediatrician. I'm not trying to be rude or mean, but they're seeing maybe 60 patients in a day, 40 to 60 patients in a day. Yeah. Whereas a functional medicine doctor is spending an hour with each patient and is getting to the bottom underlying issues and creating a path for treatment.
So again, talking about for the kids taking leucovorin, we certainly heard your son's story and the language that came. What are some of the other things that they're seeing, benefits that they're seeing as a result? And it seems like fairly quickly from what
It is a fairly quickly scenario. And I think there's a quote from Dr. Pride that what we've seen is what leucovorin does, we think, is accelerate the effectiveness of all the therapies in my bag of tricks. And I loved that quote. And he's observed not only does it help with speech and improvements, but comprehension and a sophistication use of the language. For my son and for other kids, not only was speech improved, he went from 1 to 2 word utterances to conversations. But you have the cognition and the social ability. A lot of our kids want to play and be social. And if you have the speech or you have an alternative form or way of communication, you have the ability to be social. And so I see lots of benefits, and including, I think you hit some of them early on in our talk was, you see sleep improve, gross motor improvements, vision improvements, and the like. But again, not every child's going to show everything listed.
Amazing, amazing. But this is not, we just need to stress this. This is not something that you're going to go to CVS and find on the shelves. This is, you want to get tested. We would not put this amount of something into somebody without seeing that there was a need for it. I have to keep saying that because people hear something and they want to run out and get it right now. So the best way forward is to see a functional medicine doctor, which might be a new experience for some people, but you have a list of doctors across the country on your website. Tell them exactly where to go to find that.
So it's actually on the Facebook group, Taka Hope and Help. It's a support group that's free to families. There's over 25,000 parents on there asking anywhere from 20 to 70 questions a day. You can search and find all the Leucovorin posts and read until your heart's content. And then, of course, ask any of your questions. And in those files on that group is a list of qualified parent-recommended doctors that are going to help you navigate your next steps.
Okay. And then from there, once you've identified who the functional medicine doctor is, you're going to go to them, you're going to have the conversation with them, and they're going to, for the first one, for the cerebral folate deficiency, they're going to you're going to decide together one of two tests. One that's a blood test, the frat boy test. Always going to think of it that way from now on.
There's no frat boys in this whole discussion.
Their hats on backwards. Right? But that's how we're going to remember it. Or you can have the spinal, which will give you more information, but you're going to have to say, I'm letting somebody do this, which is, there are lots of reasons why you would do that. Absolutely. But I hear a lot of parents going, wow, we'll do the blood test. It's one blue tube. There we go.
Tube of blood, and you'll get your answers.
And then you'll get your answers, and that person will be able to help you to know what amount to take, because that is critical. That it is based on their age and weight and their blood tests.
And there's some kids that are starting it at 1 year old, and there's some kids that are 35. It doesn't matter how old you are, to help improve feeling better and having better communication, cognition, sleep, a lot of it.
So would you say that this is one of the biggest new things that in the community, the most like maybe the most talked about recent thing?
The reason why we're so excited and thrilled that CBS picked up on it is for my kid, he's been on Leucovorin for quite some time, over 16 years.
Yeah.
But what we're excited about is that it was picked up by CBS News, and so many people who have not visited a functional medicine doctor or have never known that autism and its coexisting issues are treatable, it's introducing it to a whole new population. And some people who maybe have done a trial on Leucovorin or B9 in the past, I would highly recommend revisiting this, because we've even seen parents who've done a trial. It's been 5 or 6 years. They go back, get retested, try another version of treatment, whether it's the methylfolate or the Leucovorin, and they see a huge benefit.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And for people who have never been to functional medicine doctors before and they have some trepidation, you've got something pretty amazing at Taka that I think I feel like it's a well-kept secret that a lot of people know about, that you have Taka mentors. Do you want to take just a minute and talk about that and why that might be useful to somebody just starting on this journey?
Yeah, Taka is a team, and we have a great volunteer pool, almost 400 volunteers that help us deliver our program and mission. Part of that group are our Taka mentors. And the Taka mentors, you can apply on the Taka website. You get assigned to someone who can understand and help you where you are. That they set it up via email. You start your relationship, and they help you navigate your autism journey. We also have a great article on how to prepare for your functional medicine doctor appointment to maximize your return. So all of the questions, setting an agenda, how to get your labs from your previous physicians, and preparing for your medical appointment. We have tools that will help you.
And that's going to save you not only time, but money, you guys. So you want to avail yourself of that. Because when your insurance doesn't cover the function, I'm not assuming, because sometimes it does, but if it doesn't, time is money and the clock is ticking. And every minute that you're like futzing around with your papers or asking questions that you could have had answered before, you're paying for it. I always think of the old taxi driver that would put down the thing and the clock would start to turn, right? That's what it's like when you're meeting with these people. So if you can maximize your time with them, and have somebody to ask questions later on, then you're being smart with your dollars as you're going to these amazing professionals who can help you with a lot of different things. Why are you laughing at me?
Well, I'm laughing. I remember, I think appointment number 2 or 3, my husband and I got in an argument about what was going on with our son, Jeff. And I just laughed and said, don't use your medical professional as a marriage and family therapist. Go in like a team, set up your agenda, and be ready to roll. So that way you're going in fully ready with an agenda of all of the things and all the questions that you want to get answered. I even, my doctor allows me, or my son's doctor allows me to record the sessions. Nice. And that way I can go listen to it, but you need to ask for permission. Not all doctors allow that.
Yeah, absolutely not. But since you brought that up, I have to be honest with you, Lisa. I've had a lot of people asking me recently that mom and dad are either, having some issues, or they're divorced already, and they're not strangely, they're not on the same page. Because what parents, diverse people, are ever going to be on the same page ever? But when it gets to the point where we're stopping any kind of treatment or therapy because one parent is digging in their feet and the other parent is ready and raring to go, people are asking me all the time, who can we go to? We'd like to talk to parents who've gotten through this. Do you have something like that to talk about?
Yeah, I have some advice. Regardless of what your marital status is, and God bless you, I always say that the joke that I make, and please forgive me, is whoever, how you keep your marriage happy is whoever initiates divorce gets the kids. So we're happy. Nobody wants to do this alone.
Right.
So again, I'm sorry if you're alone and navigating on this journey. So please don't be mad at me for my joke. That's how we try to stay happy-go-lucky here at my family. But what I would recommend that you do, and early on, when I was having a lot of bumps and bruises early on with my marriage, and God love him, I would never go look for someone else. He's a great guy, but it was really bumpy.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I did is I replaced all the bathroom reading material. Mm-hmm. And that way, all of my son's labs were in there, all of my son's, notes, and any science was in there. So whenever my husband went in and used the bathroom, he was looking at the same thing I was hoping he was looking at. And because there was nothing else in the reading material, I was able to help move things along. Now, in a more stressful scenario, you can have someone that can intermediate. Some people work with intermediators through their divorce and counseling to share labs and to share studies and to work uniformly together by going and being part of every medical visit. The other thing I highly recommend is attend the TACA conference.
Yeah.
Watch the recordings together, attend the conference, get educated together. And that lifelong learning commitment to learn together is going to make a big difference for your child's health. Yeah. And the bottom line is these treatments, there's so many new treatments and so many things you can do. And that's what gives me so much hope. By learning together and looking at those things together, you can make a big difference in your child's life.
And I have to say, I've seen some parents make it work. Even though they might disagree, I've seen some parents put everything else aside and say, helping our kid is the single biggest thing aside from our, but I've also seen scenarios, and I know you have too, where one parent is willing to do that and the other parent their answer is no. I've seen the kids suffer, and I've seen the other parent, and I've seen it both sides, you guys. This is not a sexist thing. I've seen moms who have said no, and I've seen dads who have said no, and just uniformly refuse anything, any kind of treatment at all. A little bit of denial, saying that the autism fairy will come in the night and bonk them on the head and it will just disappear. They'll outgrow it. That's the phrase that I hear that makes me want to spit knives.
So you outgrow pajamas, you don't outgrow autism.
That's right.
And you outgrow through hard work, and the kid works 20 times harder every day to navigate this world. And I think anything we can do that's going to help them navigate that world better and be set up for a healthy, independent life, let's do it together. Yeah. Find a way. And if you need to work with a mediator to help navigate that, God bless you. I hope that's not the case. But generally speaking, if you provide the labs and the science, both where there's consensus that treatment is needed.
Let's take a small break to show people what's coming next week, because one of the things that's coming next week is Dr. Temple Grandin. So we want to make sure that they're hearing about that. And then we're going to come back and round the show out with Lisa. So stick with us.
It's the last week of April, and boy, do we have some great shows. On Monday, Shannon welcomes Janet Elliott, author of The Alien Savant, to discuss her book and the state of special education today. On Tuesday, Shannon and Dr. Doreen discuss the topic of sleep. And on Wednesday, we finish the month with our very special guest, Dr. Temple Grandin, the Autism Network, providing information and inspiration to families for over 14 years.
Welcome back. Yes, we still have one more week of this amazing month. And one of the fun things for us this month, Lisa, is that we debuted a bunch of episodes that are now in Spanish. That AI makes it possible for Chris, because he's amazing, to take shows that I've done before, and it sounds like I'm speaking Spanish. It's amazing. It's amazing. And then we're going to be able to do that with more languages. So, anyway, that's one of on Thursdays and Fridays, we're doing the Spanish only. It's very fun to me. But I want to take a minute to talk with you because you guys have a conference that's coming up in the fall. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to hear anything that's going on in TACA. Let's do like a 4-minute commercial here. What's happening at TACA?
So much.
Yeah.
We're adding over 1,000 new families a month. So we're working to engage in technology that's going to help us be in front and guide families rather than responsive and just answering questions. We really want to optimize the path for each family. That's a long-term goal, and we're working on that feverishly. But the TACA conference, our 42nd TACA conference, is coming up October 10th through 12th in Costa Mesa, California. Do not fret if you cannot make it. There is a recorded option that comes out within a couple of weeks of the conference close. But we have at the National TACA Autism Conference, it's incredible. It's over 60 speakers, 4 tracks. We do legal, we do therapeutics, we do medical, and we do parent support and testimonials. So I just highly recommend connecting, and especially if it's been a few years since the last conference you attended. It's regional center vendored here in the state of California, and if you're not here locally and you need support, we can offer scholarships for the in-person or recorded version. But we're thrilled to bring our 42nd conference to everybody that needs it. Anyone who loves someone with autism will benefit.
Woohoo. It's such a great time. And I will be there. I'm one of the 60 this year. So I will be there. And I so enjoy meeting all of you at that. It's really fun because you're sitting elbow to elbow with everybody learning together. And you meet some of the most incredible people there. And there's so much to see and do and participate in. Nobody does it better than you, Lisa. Parents just find a home there. And it's amazing always because when you go, you really see a cross section of the world, right? I mean,
Yeah, and it's a team here at Taka, and I can't do it without them. And I'm so thrilled that we bring forward the best speakers, the most knowledgeable helpers. And like I said, if you can attend in person, there's nothing like it. It's a very uniformed and inspiring experience.
yeah,
But if you are unable to attend or you can't split yourself in 4 sessions, people who buy the in-person also get the recorded. And for our friends that cannot attend, the recorded sessions are available in a great app that helps you navigate, take notes, and do all the plotting and planning for your child's journey to be healthy, happy, and independent.
and I have to say, it is probably the most affordable conference that happens all year long. But as you said, if people need, the regional center will pay for it for you. And sometimes you have scholarship money. So everyone, should be able to attend or view afterwards. Absolutely amazing. You always get your battery charged at these things, because it would be very easy for it to get overwhelming, but you don't allow it to get overwhelming. You make sure that everybody leaves with an action plan, and that everybody, that nobody gets stuck in the paralysis of, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do next.
Even for new families, if they don't know what to do, they tell us about their kid a little bit at the Taka Mentor booth, and we help them create a schedule just for their kid.
Yeah.
And so they can go watch everything. But, I think I've been to over, this will be my 89th conference that I've been to, and I still learn something every time I go to a conference. So I always recommend the families that find their tribe and community and continue to be lifelong learners do so much better to navigate.
All right. We still have like 2 minutes. A lot of times, because we got summer coming up, do you have your family festival this year? Is that happening?
Yeah, we have the Teen and Adult Resource Fair for all teen and adult services on May 3rd. We have our Taka Carnival on June 1st. It's an amazing event with all the free carnival rides and just so many wonderful resources for families. And then, of course, we have our July Summer Splash event. And in December 6th, we have our Sensitive Santa event here in SoCal. We also do family events across the United States. So for people outside the state of California, please just check out takanow.org, click on events, and see if we have anything near you.
I always say I would like to have a 10th of your energy. I just don't even know how you're doing all of these things, madam. Plus, I know in the fall you'll do a poker tournament and, all of these things that you do. And I'm just tired hearing about it.
Well, again, remember, it's I'm super grateful for the almost 400 volunteers that work at Taka and the 22 staff. There's no way one human can do all of this. And I am super grateful for how hard they work and what they do to bring our mission forward to help families.
I help, don't even run, but help with one fundraiser here locally every year. And I try to get volunteers. And you know what? It is a cluster, just the thought of having 400 volunteers and be able to disseminate information for all of them to be able to do the things. I just don't know how you do what you do. I'm in awe, always in awe. I can talk almost anybody under the table, but I don't know if I could talk you under the table. But, you say, well, I have 400 volunteers. And I'm like, that's a lot of work. 400 volunteers is a lot of work.
But how great team.
And to attract 400 people, Lisa, is a thing all of it on its own. You're the Pied Piper, and people are following you for a very good reason. Anyway, I adore you. Thank you for taking the time to do this. Again, you want to go to tacanow.org, check out all the things that we talked about, but go to the Facebook page to find all the things about the doctor's list. What's the name of the Facebook? I'm on it, but what's the name of the?
It's Taka Hope and Help.
Okay.
On Facebook. And what is so great, sometimes you don't know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
And because there's dozens and dozens of questions, a very active group every day. We know that sometimes you can just stop and listen and learn and read and learn so much from other people's journeys. And then you get the courage and you ask your own questions and you get the support you need as well.
And I am a member of that, and I see things. What's amazing is sometimes somebody will ask a question and I'll think, oh, okay. But then I look and 22 people have already been there and helped and supported that parent and said all the things that I wanted to say. And that always makes me happy because it takes a village, right?
Yeah, and there's nuances, and sometimes those nuances and new things you learn from other parents, and at least find the resources, see the articles. So, we talked about something really complicated today, leucovorin and methylfolate. Just taking one step at a time, finding the right resource, getting a mentor, asking questions, running labs, all of this stuff will get easier. I promise you, all the effort you put in is going to pay off. And I'm really proud of every parent that works so hard for their kid.
Well, thank you. I'm proud of you. Proud to know you, madam. And
give my love to you too.
Give my love to your whole family, your whole amazing family. And I will
back
see
out
you
to you
soon. Yes, absolutely. We will see you soon. So thank you so much, you guys. Thank you for being here. Check out the calendar. Make sure that you don't miss Temple Grandin next week, but we've got even more next week. So we'll be back with all that. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. See you next time.